Welcome back to the Purpose Playbook. We are still in Manchester. Second one up here. I've put my coat on. It's a little bit cold in this studio. Big thank you to the Outset Studio for having us today. We are really lucky to be joined by Dave Gibbons today. Hi, Dave.
How are we doing, guys? You all right?
How are you?
How are we, mate?
I'm good.
So we've just found out Dave didn't fill in his paperwork.
Yeah, he's a bit of a maverick.
A bit of a maverick, so we are going
Goes by his own
off
rules.
the cuff. As you can see, we've got no cue cards today because Rich forgot them.
Brian ruined the last podcast episode with a coughing fit, so we're not doing too well today. But
No,
we'll get
but
by.
Listen, we'll have a good time. So, Dave, welcome. This is going to be a complete blag of a podcast. And
I'm looking forward to this
really
one.
looking
Well,
forward
I'm nervous
to
because
it.
I've not got a clue now what we're going to be talking about. I mean, I thought we were talking about Man United versus City. I mean, what are we going to do?
And what are you, red or blue?
None.
None.
None, mate. No, I
Oh.
don't like football. I
Oh.
don't follow football.
So,
Strange one.
Dave, thanks for coming on. I think you should talk, Rich, initially about how you and Dave connected.
Yeah. So you know when you just like meet people with really good energy.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, how it started. So we did the podcast, my podcast episode.
Yeah.
And for some reason, you must have come across it, Dave. You
Yes, I
listened
did.
to it. And out of the blue, I get a message from him and he said, I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember the exact message, but it was along the lines of, just listen to your podcast. I love what you're trying to do, and I think that there's a way that I can potentially help or do something with you. I just know that if we have a chat, something good's going to come of it. That's
Pretty much.
effectively what you said.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know what happened after that. We had a big chat. We got to know each other. We put the world to rights around a few subjects, which we'll get into today. And we're sitting here today with some plans and starting to work on some bits.
Yeah, 100%. I think it'd be good to talk about you.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you've done in your life, and then we will talk about the project we've spoken about, the need for it, and sort of what we're looking to do moving forward.
Sounds good.
So tell us about yourself.
Wow, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I've had a very long life. So, in what aspect do you want to know? Do you want to know what I've done? Give me an idea.
We'll put it this way.
because this could go either 5 minutes or 10 hours.
Well, we've got time, so
Not 10 hours.
but not 10
Yeah.
hours because I think people want to go home. But I think the outcome of this conversation is going to be us talking about the Man Up project.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that, what that is. But what I've noticed in you, speaking every time I've spoken with you, but certainly in the first time that we spoke, there's a fire in your belly around helping young people.
Yeah.
Particularly a certain set of young people, and I would like to know where that comes from and what happened in your previous life, to your early life. Sorry, you're not dead. To influence that.
Okay, so if I can take it back and try and give you some idea of where I've come from and then what that kind of led to, and then what put us here today is kind of where.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so I am a Manchester lad, born and bred. I grew up in the council estates, which will be a very, very common story that you'll hear. Originally got brought up in Moss Side. When I was about 4 years of age, I was one of the little kids that would ask you if I can mind your car, please.
Oh, really?
The 20p, 50p, and we were the little scroats that you'd like, these little bastards.
Yeah.
Who are you? You're going to scratch my car. You're going to
Yeah.
scratch anyone's car.
Yeah.
But this was kind of the environment that I grew up in.
Yeah.
Back then, there was just myself and my brother. Eventually, ended up being 6 children in the family. So I'm one of 6. I'm the eldest of 6. I've got 4 brothers, 1 sister. We all got brought up in a 3-bedroom terraced house in Wythenshawe, which is a huge council estate just in Manchester over here. I had a great upbringing. Really good upbringing, actually. Even though it was hectic, living in such a small space, trying to grab attention, trying to, just navigate through the life. But we had a lot of support. I had a lot of support from my mum and dad. I think my dad's side, which we can probably get onto in a bit, he really suffers and has suffered over the years with anxiety and was brought through the care system himself. So I'm one of the lucky ones, I would say, that I didn't go through the care system. In fact, my childhood was really good.
Yeah, it's like just taking a snippet of that. Like, when I think back to when we were growing up, living in a 3-bed house with 6 kids or 7, 8 people
Was normal.
is like normal.
Yeah.
And you just make it work.
It was normal.
These days it's unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hear many stories about
No.
it where you're like, we've got a family of 10 in a 4-bed.
Yeah.
It's like madness. But when you say it there, I'm like, everything used to be like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
My room had a partition down the middle, and me and my brother had like a
100%.
box.
Bunk beds, mate, everywhere.
Bunk beds.
Bunk beds
It was
everywhere.
a house full of bunk beds.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
With mattresses falling through because we used to climb underneath them and nick the metal springs to make catapults. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, scratching the cars.
Yeah.
to
I
that
could get
story.
away. I could get away. So, yeah, it started in Moss Side until I was around 6 years of age. Then we moved over to Wythenshawe. We got a council swap and we got a slightly bigger house and everything was great. Brought up in the council estates, eventually went to quite a good school. The good thing is my mum and dad are actually my mum is from quite a wealthy family, quite good connections locally. In fact, we only got into the school. We were one of the first kids in Wythenshawe to go to a school called Wellington Road, which is in Altrincham. It was quite a to-do school back then and probably still is quite good now. But the only reason we got in there is because my mum's uncle was the mayor of Altrincham. So it's kind of like got us in. So the alternative would have been to go to the state school in Wythenshawe, and God knows what would have happened if I'd have gone down that route. Maybe things would have definitely been different, I would say, because I see the guys who came out of there.
Yeah.
So it was still a mainstream school though, not a private.
No, mainstream.
But how did you find going to? I mean, Altringham's quite a posh place, is it?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So how did you find coming from a council estate, being around posh kids?
Honestly, I didn't really notice that much difference. No, because of the age. I mean, you're going in at about kind of 11, and when we grew up, we didn't really notice that there was a difference or like a privilege divide. When you grow up in a council estate, just everyone's the same.
Yeah.
He's got we wouldn't notice it, but he's got a posh Manchester accent.
I have now.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I have now. But yeah, you don't notice any difference. So kind of when I went there, we were all just young kids. We were 11 years of age, and you kind of just like found your hierarchy depending on what you were kind of good at. And I must have been good. I was pretty good at making people laugh and trying to be the class clown. And later years down the line, I understand where that comes from and why I thrive the attention and how that family dynamic kind of, made me who I am today. So. Anyway, we went through school, and then following on from school, I decided to become, I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to cook. I was quite good with my hands. I did that, qualified as a chef. I was my first job. I got a job at the Hilton Hotel in Manchester Airport. Beautiful thing is I got a few at the time. I could have gone to a few, but we ended up going to the Hilton Hotel. And I did all my course through there. I'm a qualified chef. Eventually decided that working 12 hours a day for 40 quid a week.
Tough job.
On a YTS or whatever it was called back then, just wasn't worth it. I didn't even have enough money to get the bus to work. I had to get a bike from the catalogue just so I could get to work and back.
It's one of the professions that I see on TV shows where I am like, that is insane.
Do you know what?
How do people do it?
It's
because it's constant
it's high
all
pressure.
the time.
It's high pressure environment, isn't it?
Brilliant. Which is why I mentioned it in my story.
Exactly though, but it's when I see it, it's I guess it's not a profession but when you watch it, you're like,
it's horrible.
The
amount of times I had to leave halfway through a set to go to, I'd say I was going to the toilet, and I'd sit on that, and I remember to this day shutting that door and just crying in the toilet because of the pressure. The chefs would throw things at you. They just didn't give a shit. You needed to move fast.
You needed to grow up quick, right?
Quick.
Really
quick.
So you learned a lot.
So I learned a lot. And what I learned in there is, holy shit, I've just become a chef. That means any job I do after this is not going to be as hard as that.
I mean,
so I'd kind of done the hard bit.
You talk about that with the estate agency, right? It's like your industry was like, it sets you up for life. Although you hated it, it sets you up for life.
There were times in an estate agency that I absolutely hated it. I mean, we were working 7 days a week. We do a 14 stretch without a day off. We were working 8 till 7 every night minimum. We were only allowed to go to the toilet between 2 and 4. Just all of this stuff. And at the time, being like you wouldn't hit your numbers. You're down in the boardroom. The stuff they would say to you now, they're getting locked up for it. But oh God, did I learn everything I needed to know? And it's why when I employ people now and they're asking for pay rises because they've been there a year, I'm thinking, come on, like do the yards, man. It's just a totally different generation now.
You just think it should be us offering you a pay rise because
you're working your ass off. Yeah.
I mean, if you're still in the same role, year and year and year, you maybe should ask yourself the question: why are you still sat in that seat and not the one above? That's another podcast. So from being a chef, I decided that I loved it, I had a passion for cooking, and I was good at it, and I really, really enjoyed it. But just the money and the social aspect of it, because when you're a chef, that means Friday, Saturdays, you can't have the day off because that's the busiest time. So that's when we're doing all of the covers, you know, they're the busiest time. So, yeah, we just decided, or I decided that, I can't do this, and I'd rather go and get some form of an office job. So then I could be 9 to 5, and then I could go out with my mates at weekend, and I could do all of that stuff. And that was kind of important to me back then. There was no big dreams. I wasn't thinking of getting a house. I was just thinking of, where's the next girl and beer coming from? And how can I get out with my mates and do this type of stuff, you know? So following on from there, I ended up getting an office job at an insurance company. Of which I...
Ooh.
Yeah,
We were having a chat about this insurance company.
Scumbags.
Scarlet and
What
It was going so well.
What we saying?
He is
earlier?
actually-
Oh, man, I've been all of the worst jobs in the world. Bar a parking
He's our
model.
guest. And you're,
No,
Leave it.
I
That's it. I'm out of it.
Oh, he should have filled in the paperwork.
and we wouldn't have had him on.
No, because then you really would have nailed
I'll
me.
tell you what we were talking about, actually, the insurance companies, how you get 3 points on your license.
Yeah,
It stays on for 3 years.
correct.
But the insurance companies keep it on for 5.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
You tell us.
Money.
It's ridiculous, mate.
It's-
Yeah. It's
it's money.
ridiculous. It's money. Yeah.
Anyway.
It's money.
Yeah, sorry. Carry on. Insurance
Where was I? Insurance company.
You're
So yeah, I went into an insurance company, and in there I actually went in as admin, and I definitely did not want to sell. And I remember this one day, there was kind of no job offer, but one of my friends worked there. So this one day, he was telling me about how great it was to work there, this, that, and the other. So this one day, I just got this my suit on, and I went and knocked on the door and just said, "Look, have you got any jobs going? My friend works here. He's been telling me about it, and I'd like to see if you've got any jobs going." So anyway, the woman who came to come and see me, a lady called Sarah, she was like quite bemused that somebody had just turned up and knocked on the door. And now being a business owner myself, if someone knocked on my door and said, "Hey mate, I'm looking for a job," I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?"
You're going to be inundated next week.
Yeah, maybe I will. But anyway, she came in and said, "Look, you look like you'd be good in the sales role," of which I was like, "No, that is not happening. I can't think of anything worse than being a salesman." So ended up getting an admin role there, and within about the first 6 months, I'd been watching the sales guys and thought, you know what, I think I can do this. So I remember speaking to an old boss of mine, Bazza, and he had a proper Manc accent. Bazza, he was like Bolton's version of Liam Gallagher. All right, mate, all this and that's what And I remember him coming in one day, and I remember saying to him, I said, you know, he was talking about the sales. I said, "They're all shit." "All right, big bollocks. Do you think they are?" He's like, to me. I said, "Yeah, I do. I think they're shit. I think I can do better than that." So he says, "Well, give it a go." So I did. Anyway, ended up on the sales team. Then within about 2 months or something, a job came up for the sales team leader of Carroll Nash Insurance, one of the biggest motorbike insurance companies in the whole of the UK. This is where I worked. Sales team leader role came up. So I said, "I fancy going for this team leader role." And the 2 people that interviewed me, Sarah was the one who gave me the original job, and Bazza was the one who was my line manager. Both told me they were the people holding the interview. And before I went in, they categorically told me, "You're wasting your time. You're not going to get the job." I went, "Okay." Well, I want to come for it.
Red rag to a bull here.
I want to come for it anyway.
Yeah.
Hold my beer, mate. You watch this. Anyway, went for the interview, came out, finished, and they come out and they were shaking their heads. And anyway, within about a few minutes later, they come to me and said, "Dave, you've got the job." I got the job as the sales team leader of this massive company. I'd never done sales before, bear in mind. I've only been there a couple of weeks in the sales team. You know, it was absolutely nuts. On there, I got to learn how to become a salesperson, how to negotiate, more importantly, how to listen to people, to find out what it is that they want. Because I just don't think kind of sales exists. I think the better you listen to somebody, the more you understand them, the easier it is to offer them the solution that just suits them. So I'm not a mad pushy salesperson. I don't think that works.
I think that's how I'm reading a lot of stuff like that now in sales. It used to be sell. Now it's like, listen, don't
Listen
speak
to
about
understand.
yourself. What's the
Relationships,
problem?
listening.
Where's the solution? And here's the relationship, isn't it?
That's it. You know, that's it. That's what makes things flow. It's transactional. You know, everybody gets something out of it. So that's where I kind of learned to do that. Following on from there, I left there. I actually got sacked from there because they said that they pissed me off. Basically, they said that I'd stolen like 20 quid or something. In all honesty, I think they wanted to get rid of me because it was getting a bit too big for my boots.
Yeah.
Because I am a gobshite, and I am toned down gobshite now. Imagine me
gonna
at 18, mate.
The most surprising thing I've heard today is that you didn't originally go for a sales role. I was like, you are a born sales.
Really didn't want it. Honestly, I was petrified of it. Yeah, because I'd never done it before.
No.
I was like, and I think it took me to be sat there for a few months watching these guys to go, it's actually not as bad as I thought it was.
Do you think that has something to do with the pressure of being a chef? Because it is pressure. Sales is pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're doing a job where you've come out of and you've gone into another job, because I think a lot of people do it. It's like, here's stress. I want easy life.
Yeah.
Whereas what you've done is gone, here's easy life, and then you've looked over and gone, I could do that.
I fancy a bit.
So
of
you've had your rest.
Yeah.
And then you've gone, I'll show you these lot.
Yeah. So what I think, okay, so if I've never, no one's ever asked me that question before, and it's quite an interesting question. The answer that I've got for that question is, I think that the chef job built strength in me, but actually the salesperson in me was derived many, many years before that as a kid. Because being in a large family in such a small house, my dad going out to work all the time, there's just my mum, so now you've got like 6-to-1 ratio. Trust me, mate, you either need to be loud, super fucking cool, or special to grab that attention.
Yeah, of course.
Which in turn turns you into a bit of a, I don't know, it starts off as a bit of a blackguard, to be honest with you. But you learn to work with stuff, and you learn to be able to see what's coming, what's going to happen, and to maneuver and pivot yourself in a way that you can do it. So what I actually found was that all of the skills that I needed to be a salesperson, I'd kind of got from a young age, having to fight for attention. And, love, you might say. I never felt unloved or anything like that. But ultimately now, knowing what I know and everything, it's clear to me that was probably the foundational elements that made the recipe for Dave. Yeah.
So what happens next?
So after that, I left and I was looking for a job. And I landed an amazing job, which changed my life forever.
God, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I was a parking
I was about to say that.
No. I became a broker. I got a job for an IT broker.
I remember you telling me the story,
And what this company did, I'd never heard of anything like this before. I'd just gone from one sales job, went to a recruitment consultant and said, okay, now I'm a salesman. Have you got any other jobs in sales? Here's what I want to earn. Here's what I've done before. And he got me this interview at this place. And it started off, I wasn't a broker. They'd opened a new department in this company, and it was called the Premier Purchasing Group. And what it was basically crowd or group funding purchases. So what they do, they say, look, if we all put in together, if there's 100 individual companies, your cost per individual unit is 100 quid. But let's say if we bought 100 of them, we can reduce the price down to 80 quid, and then we all get the combined discount between us. And that was the kind of idea behind this business model that they did. So I went in there and I did relatively well in there. But whilst I was working there was this other room. And you could walk down, like you walk through this, you've got this beautiful building we're here today. And as you walk through, you've got different offices, different things happening. You can see what's going on through the glass, but you can't hear. So this Premier Purchasing Group was owned by a company called European Micro. And they were this huge computer broker that were just selling computer equipment, buying and selling it all over the world. And the guys that worked in there, they were like I thought at the time, like the coolest guys in the world. They were all driving Porsches and fast cars. Have you ever seen the film The Boiler Room?
Yeah. What a film.
What a film. That. And I'm Seth.
That's the best sales film.
That is the best film in the world for sales. Yeah. So I'm Seth at this point, and I'm looking at what these guys are doing, and I'm like, I want a bit of that.
Yeah.
This is a bit of me. These guys are fucking flying around.
How old are you at this point?
I was probably 18, 19. No, maybe 19. Yeah, about 19-ish, because I left there when I was 21. I know that. And eventually, anyway, I got this. I was working for the Premier Purchasing Group. They decided that wasn't a feasible product for them, and ended up shutting it down and sacked everybody apart from me. And they said, actually, would you like to come and work in there? And I was like, well, yeah. 100. So I was like, yeah, bloody hell, of course.
He's flicking through the 9/11 brochure.
I mean, my dreams are like a huge right now. All of a sudden I'm seeing exactly what I can do. These guys are doing it, and I'm thinking, well, I think I'm as good as you at what you're doing. You're a bit older. But anyway, I went in there and I did really well in there. It got to the stage where I was like 19. I was earning ridiculous money. It was like 8 to 10 grand a month I was on back then, just brokering these deals. So I was like the biggest swinging dick in the world. I thought it was just, oh, it was party time, mate. It was party time. Anyway, from there, I left and got headhunted by another company, another broker, who wanted me to work for them and pretty much kind of like just offered me double the money or whatever I wanted to come and work for them and open some new departments, of which I did. And I was really happy there until there was a conversation that was had where they were trying to figure out what kind of stuff that I wanted, and I wanted a car. And it was like we're trying to work out how they could incentivize me to get more and everything else. So I said I wanted this car. They said, okay, if you hit these 3 months targets, we'll get you the car. Okay, so I went away, squirreled away, bang, 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 worked as hard as I could, managed to hit this target. So I went to the boss, said, hit the target, let's go and get the car. They went, I'm not sure we said that.
Oh no,
I'm like,
that's
you
the
did.
worst thing you can do.
It is to me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, it is to me. Because you do me wrong and that's it, I'm done.
Sounds like you.
Yeah, so I was like, right, don't like that. Now, I was in a really fortunate position back then because I was a broker. What that meant is I wasn't just an employed salesperson. I was the guy you got in to find all your supply channel, all the sales channel, the logistics channel, the finances to get it all sorted out and make sure that you could deal with everything within that transaction. So I was finding the suppliers in China, I was finding the customers, I was brokering the deals between them, and I had the logistics all set up. So I didn't need them.
No,
I didn't even need the money.
Yeah.
So all I needed, so eventually I said, okay, that's the way you want to play it. 21, I set up my first company.
They come at you with a non-compete and you say, I don't remember signing that.
There was never a non-compete. Didn't get fucked, mate. This is happening. So I set up my first company, and within the first 2 years, we did 5 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I set up a subsequent other 3 companies that all did over 10 million quid within the next 10 years.
All within the same sector.
Same sector.
What was the
Different
how do you grow a
departments.
company? I mean, this is a podcast in itself, but how do you grow a company to 5 million in 2 years as a young guy?
It was all about the supply. So my job was to find the best product because we were selling. It's very difficult. Well, it's not difficult. It's just different depending on what you're doing. We were selling branded items. So for the likes of the listeners to this podcast, if you like, look at your computer, you might have a Hewlett-Packard, an IBM computer or something. It's a brand name. So the brand names have got ticket values. They've got part numbers and they have a shelf value to them. So what we used to do is we used to buy them, but buy them in bulk. So very similar to another thing that I did where we'd crowdsource it. I thought, well, rather than sell them to each of these, what if I just bought 1,000 of them and then I sold them individually to these guys? So I'll buy like 1,000 of them and then I'd sell them in 10s, 20s, 30s or whatever else. And I made the margin in between purchase and sell. Because we were selling branded items, I didn't have to worry about market share. I didn't have to worry about building brands. The brand was already built.
Yeah.
I would just had to buy it cheaper than anybody else.
Jeez.
So that's how you do it.
Everyone was winning.
Everyone wins.
Everyone
But
was winning.
5 million's still quite. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of turnover for a young guy.
Yeah,
How many people do you have working for you?
The equivalent of 5 million.
Me and one other back then.
Just 2 people.
2 people, yeah.
Oh my god.
2 people working
wow.
back then. When we got to 10, we had 6 people. Yeah.
What a business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just thinking of our business at the moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, the equivalent of 5 and 10 million back then must have
Oh,
been
yeah.
Double.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Double
yeah.
it now. Yeah.
huge.
Double it.
Wow.
I mean, lower margins. We were only working on about 10 to 15% margin, but it was still decent.
Yeah.
What went wrong?
Not a great deal. The marketing got stopped, all the big grey market. So we were dealing within the grey market. And again, I don't want to go down a long story,
No.
but it was relatively easy to do grey market. You could buy from certain countries where they'd have cheaper discounts. We'd work on currency fluctuations. So if the euro was out, all of a sudden that meant that we could buy in Germany and it was 15% cheaper than it was in the UK or against the dollar or against any other currency. So we were working on currency fluctuations. We were working on things where they'd have special builds. So in certain countries, they were trying to spend loads of money to update their infrastructure. So what we would do is say, okay, well, you're building this hospital, this college, this university, you're supplying 3,000 units. What if you just put an extra 1,000 on at the end? We'll get the back of their discount. So we were buying it like 50% off list price and selling it 78%.
Did companies clock on?
Yeah.
That you were making the money and then went, well, hold on,
Yeah, they can't do it now.
We
Because
want-
they don't know where to buy it from.
yeah.
Yeah, it's genius.
Yeah, it is absolutely genius.
Yeah.
Until the manufacturers kicked back. So there was a big case that happened, and it was Tesco's Levi's. I'm not sure if you're aware of the case. What happened basically is Tesco's got sued because they bought Levi's out of Poland. And they were saying, well, it's still within the European Union and everything else. And what Levi's came back and said, actually, you're disrupting our market here because you're importing our products that we had destined to go to Poland. The reason they're a cheaper price in Poland is because we're trying to grow market share over there, and you're knackering our market. So eventually, and it wasn't exactly that, but it was a huge case. Anyway, Levi's won. What that meant is, now there's a case against anybody else. So all the other manufacturers in the world jumped onto it and said, well, if there's now this grey market issue, we can jump on the back of it. And if we find anybody selling our items that are outside of the codes that they should have been, then we're going to sue them. So kind of ended abruptly overnight, but over a couple of years, it just got harder and harder and harder. So I just exited that company and started to do other things. I started to move into property more, so we shut that company down, and then I started to move into property, opened a building company, bought an estate agent, started building property portfolios, and I was just heavily tuned in to business then. All the way until probably just before COVID 2020, where I had a shock.
I don't know whether to go there or go back. 'Cause I've got a question that I really want to ask.
Ask.
Let's go back before we get to the shop. So when we last spoke, there was something that has stuck with me ever since. I'm a dad. I've got three young kids. Two of them, one's 12, one's 10. I'm starting to talk to them about what they want to be when they're older. I'm getting the usual response. Don't know. Don't want to talk about it. Don't care. All that stuff. I find it really difficult because
which is very normal for
it is. But but something that Dave told me has really stuck with me ever since, and it's around your dad, and it's around the principles that he brought you up on, and the outcomes he achieved through that. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, cool. I can't remember exactly what it was, so there's not like a defined 3 words that he taught me.
No.
Just in general.
Your thing to us when we were in the hotel, you said to us, he taught me everything emotionally I needed for life.
Yeah.
That's what you said to us.
He taught me about strength, determination, and lots of other things.
But it's the impact on you and your sibling.
It was the impact on us. Yeah, so basically, if you're going to need to go back a little bit more to that and realise what the impact was on my dad when he grew up throughout his mum died of a brain tumour when he was 11 years old. My granddad, it would have been a granddad. He was a bit of a pisshead at the time and didn't know what to do with the kids. The kids ended up going into the care system and got abused and lots of other things, which I'm not going to go drastically into now. But that certainly painted a really, really negative picture in my dad about, what his parents were. And what he did is he took the decision that was not going to happen with his kids. So he gave us oodles of love. And he taught us things like, it's nice to be nice. He taught us things like, if you want to go and get anything in the world, it's yours for the taking. You've just got to go and get it and put the work in. So he gave us this huge work ethic, along with being really kind-hearted and nice to people. And it was all about love and care and support. And on top of that, be a badass. Kind of like, go out, get there. Don't take no excuses. Don't fuck around. You've got this. You can get it. So that was like the alpha side of my dad, which was then kept up with my mum. So when we did go out and do all these crazy stuff, my dad was like, cool, we fall over, we hurt ourselves. I had my mum say, it's all right, everything's cool. It was amazing. So we've had that. But
what an environment.
It was a brilliant environment.
I don't think personally I've ever met anyone that gives off as much of that as you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like every time I sit with you, it's inspiring.
Yeah, we always come away from meeting Dave and we're like, we need to spend more time with that guy.
And do you know what it is?
Hence we're in Manchester.
Yeah.
It's a credit to your dad and your parents, because it's, I always talk about how great my parents were with me, but it's lovely because you can see it in you, and I know what you're giving back to your son, which is exactly the same. And it's
what about the impact on your siblings? So how have they got on in life?
All done really well.
Yeah.
All doing really well. So, there's a couple of millionaires floating around in the family. And not just this is like my brothers and stuff. They've all got their own businesses. They're all doing really well. They all own their own houses. They've all got kids, and they're all smashing it.
I think
every single one of them.
That is so mad, because if you look at the cycle of life, typically you look at this might be a sweeping statement, but I think a lot of people who own businesses or are really successful in life, you look back, they probably come from a world where their dad was successful and their dad owned businesses, and yours didn't.
No.
Yours had...
Ours was the grind.
Yours actually taught you the other side.
He
didn't teach you how to run a business. He taught you good enough to go out there and get it.
He was mindset. He was values, principles.
That's what they talked a lot about, though, isn't it? It's like, so all 5 of your siblings got the same love, support, energy that you got.
Went out there and got at it.
Was it harder being the oldest?
I don't know, because I don't know what it was like not to be.
What I'm saying was you, like, obviously, did you become...
I think it was harder for them than it was for me.
Okay.
Especially since I left school. So I'm the eldest now. There's a big age gap between us. There's like at least a couple of years between all of us.
What are you, 35?
Yeah, with a long paper around me. 45. And I think my sister Ella is the youngest, and I think she's like 30, maybe 31.
Okay.
It's really bad that I don't know my sister's age. But I just don't. There's that many of them.
I don't either.
I don't keep up with them.
You forget after 18. Though.
That's it. Yeah, it doesn't matter, does it, really?
No.
It doesn't matter. So I don't know. But one of the things that I've said over the years is I would presume I kind of set the mark for my other brothers. And my other brothers have said that, like, what I did was quite inspiring for them and showed them that it was possible to
So
go and
you've
do
helped them along the way.
We've all
So
helped
told
each
them
other.
what
So it was like a
wrong.
chain, if you like.
course.
Yeah, 100%. So it starts off with my dad. My dad gives me the encouragement. I go out, I start doing it. And it's, okay, it's working. Then my brother says, okay, well, it does work. You've got to keep doing what they're doing. And all of a sudden, before you know it, we're just poof, poof, poof. And every single one, like ducks in a row, hit it. Every one of them. And it's amazing. I've not seen any family, certainly to come out of council estates, to do that.
Do you all still get on?
Yeah.
And that's something in itself. How often would you see 6 siblings grow up?
Especially if they're all sort of alphas, they're all winners, they're all...
Not all necessarily alphas, to be honest.
No.
I would say there's 3 out of the 5 boys who are alpha, like who want to portray that type of image as well. And like that, and the others are a little bit softer.
I don't get that from you. You don't really... I'm not saying you're an alpha, but I don't get that you...
Yeah, but an alpha can...
It can be different, but you don't portray anything other than goodness.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I'm coming from a good place. That's my emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
Defining alpha. What is alpha? It just means strong.
Yeah.
It means leader.
Yeah.
It means motivator.
Yeah.
And if your head's falling off, then you're none of them.
Yeah.
You don't have to. An alpha doesn't have to be sort of brutal.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like
some are,
but that's the portrayal of
it
alpha, isn't it? And that's what I'm saying. You know, what we're going to talk about in a little while is
the protector.
the
is the way I see alpha.
Yeah,
I don't like it outside of that. I think it's got a lot of bad press. It's not a word I like to use, to be honest. I don't class myself as an alpha as such, but I would like to see myself as the provider, the protector, and the carer.
Yeah. I mean, why I wanted to talk about that is I think it's important, because I think there's a lot of that as to why we're working on a project that we're working on.
Yeah.
It's that belief, it's that lived experience of, hey, you can go get at it, you can change, you can do. Let's talk about the shock in your story.
The shock. Okay, so we go back to when COVID just started in 2020. And it was a huge curveball. My wife spoke to me, and I knew things weren't 100% cool at home. I knew things could probably be better, and I was always in the mindset of it will be all right when. Just sit there, kind of, don't worry about it. I've got this. Get off my back. It will be all right. And I think from a wife's point of view, she probably went through the mill and thought, well, it always seems to be like that. But when is enough? And when are you going to stop? And when are we going to live this dream where we actually have you in the house? And
my wife can't listen to this.
Well, anyway, the conversation was really deep. She actually went to see a clairvoyant. This came up, and then God knows what happened with this clairvoyant. And anyway, Claire had spoke to him and said, look, you need to speak to him. You need to speak to him. He's not got a clue about any of this type of stuff. Claire was really scared of telling me this. And what this is that they were walking around on eggshells in the house. It wasn't very nice. They felt really pressured, and I wasn't there. I wasn't present. None of the good stuff that you would think after our conversations was there. No, I was just fully tuned into being an absolute monster in business. That's what I'd become. I was really good at it. But what transpired is it was pretty shit at the other side of it. And it really shocked me because it wasn't what I thought was going on. And I just didn't see this at all.
You were just
my
dialed in.
wife
It's mental.
tells me this, that, look, I'm on the verge of leaving here. Things have got to change. I love you. I don't not love you, but this can't carry on.
I don't love what's
I'm uber stressed myself because I'm running around like mad. I've got these 5 businesses. I've got like 100 people working for me. I'm taking majority of the pressure and the stress on myself. I was coming home at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a sleep on the couch and then getting up for 3 o'clock before the kids come home, so nobody knew I was doing it. I was drinking. I was taking drugs. It was just this mix of this position and place I'd found myself in. And it was just toxic as shit, to be honest with you.
Hey, it's so that resonates so much with me.
Yeah.
Last year I felt like a shit parent, shit husband. Just so much on.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult because you're doing it all for them.
This is it. This is what I'm thinking. There's a bit of you that's thinking, God, you ungrateful cow. Like, you know, what you really hurt me with that there. And look at all the stuff. What are you whinging for? You drive a 100 grand car. We go on 15 holidays a year. You live in a bloody mansion. What's your fucking problem? That is kind of, it's not like that anymore, but that's kind of like what I was thinking at the time, because of course when you get attacked, you're going to, it triggers you. And,
of course it does.
And you're like, whoa, what's all this about? Certainly when I had no clue. It's not like I knew that this was the case. Yeah. So what I did from there is I just thought, this can't happen. I'm not that guy. That's not who I want to be. It's not the way my dad taught me. This isn't right. I don't ever remember us as feeling like that as kids when my dad was there, and I want to be a mirror image of what my dad did because I think he's fucking Superman. You know, that's what I want. So with that, I went out and I got myself a coach. Mindset coach and a kind of therapist a little bit. You know, they were just talking to me and helped me through my stuff. And while I was listening to this guy and we're talking, and I was like, this is amazing. I'd never had somebody ask me the questions that he'd asked me, made me think the way that he made me think, make me look at things in a different light, from a different perspective. And it just absolutely blew my mind of how like kind of narrow-minded I might have been before, how structured it was, and how basically fenced off my life was. Just to do these things. My metrics were to do with money, success, fame, this, that, not to do with actually what my core values are, which is nothing to do with money, believe it or not. I just don't give a shit about it. So I was going that way.
You say that now, but you weren't saying that then. So how did you transition from my life is about money to I don't give a shit about money?
I thought it was about the money. And it never has been. But what I did get there was I got shitloads of admiration. So when I was running these companies...
It's the difference, right? It's the difference between, like, success. It might not necessarily be about the money.
Yeah.
But you feel like you need success.
Yeah.
And what success
That's
can look very
That's
different.
how you define it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the one way I kind of framed it was I was looking for success in life. I thought that I was going to find it in the pounds, pence, shillings and dollars of the business world because I was getting so much attention from there and because I was spending all my energy there. But guess what? Where I wasn't spending a lot of my energy, and I'm sorry to say I've probably been to, I've got 3 kids now, 21-year-old, 19-year-old and a 13-year-old. And even to this day, I don't think I've been to any more than 5 plays at school, never taken them to school. Bit late now, it upsets me that a little bit because I didn't do that. But where I thought I would find success, I got to that pot, and when I looked in it, it didn't have success in it.
Yeah,
and I realised,
empty, right?
look,
if
it
you
was
lost
completely empty.
Your success was over here.
Yeah, well,
and if you lost this, then the rest of it's irrelevant.
100%.
Yeah. And you know, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you talk about the help you got. You've helped me over the last 2 or 3 months. We've had quite a few conversations and asked me and made me look at things differently in my life, which is like looking outside of. You think you know all the answers, and then you speak to someone who actually knows more. And it's interesting. We were talking about it on the way up this morning, wasn't we? Like the life coaches, the mentors, the people around. There's always someone who can help you out of any situation. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So thank you for the last couple of months, and we
You're
will
welcome.
carry on. But
Always.
I think it's really important that anything people are going through, there is someone out there that can help.
Yeah, it's important to know. And you know what? For the most part, most people would help you out. There's a lot of help out there, and the hardest thing is finding the voice to reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
That's the hardest step. It's like running. The hardest step of your marathon is putting your shoes on.
It's almost getting to the point where you lose something as well,
Yeah.
where you're like, Jesus, like I didn't know. I thought I was being okay.
Yeah.
I thought everything was fine. I'm doing all this for you.
Yeah,
They don't want that.
We're never
They want
interested in any of that.
stability. Yeah, yeah.
Claire had said, she'd said, I was quite happy in the 3-bed semi, David, one car,
Yeah,
without the holidays.
it's so.
It's
so-
you we want.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's like awful. Even now to think about it, it's awful.
Yeah.
So obviously mindset coach, really helping you through some stuff. What changes do you make?
That was so basically from there. What I did from there is I just stopped. I thought, okay, this business, I don't need the money, so I don't need to go into work. Why I'm still doing it, I don't know. I realised what was important to me, and the intervention from Claire was the shock that I needed, the rock bottom, if you like, that gave me the direction to turn. And I went down. I had one coach. What I learned from him, I thought, this is amazing. I need to learn exactly how he's done that, what he's doing, and everything else. So I deep dived into psychology, biology, human behavior, and I've studied it every single day for at least 2 hours for the last 5 years.
Wow.
So I could understand. And with my understanding, what I've then done from there is I've been able to do a lot more charitable things. I've been able to help other people, become more of a mentor and coach to different areas. I'd always been mentoring and coaching in the business world, but not from another side. So now what I'm doing is, rather than going in and training teams and bringing in company cultures and all that boring stuff, to be honest with you, I speak to predominantly men who are business owners who are struggling with life the way that I was back then, trying to find balance and trying to rein them back in to actually live really good lives. And yeah, with what I've learned from there, opened up my eyes, and hence why I've been on this journey for about the last 5 years now, helping people, continually improving myself. And I saw that there was a gap. I thought, well, what? I'm helping these guys at anywhere between 35 and 45. What if I could get to them earlier than that?
The prevention rather than
here
crime.
we
Hence
are.
the conversation.
Yeah.
Can I ask you just a quick question, just to finish that off?
Yeah.
Did you find it difficult transitioning from 12, 15-hour days, business, to then stepping back to, you were obviously financially sound, right, at that point. Did you find it difficult not going out the house at 8 o'clock in the morning? Like, do you know what I mean? Just how was that?
It's a big void, right?
Yeah.
So
So
you're going
like,
from all to nothing.
I didn't know. I slowed it down. So basically, the main one, I looked at which one was taking up all my energy. So I had multiple businesses, but the one that was taking all my energy was a building company that we had. Because I was kind of the MD of that, but I was also the project manager of it. So I was the guy who designed the houses. I was the guy who sorted everything out. So that was taking a lot of my time. So I decided, okay, well, that one's gone. So I shut the company down. I remember going to this one day. I remember I was in my car, a van I had, a pickup truck, and 8 o'clock in the morning, put my key in the ignition, turned the ignition. As the engine turned on, I just burst out crying. And I didn't have a clue where this crying had come from at all.
I've done that.
And I just knew
Yeah.
this shit's got to go. So I remember wiping my eyes, drove to the job, and I remember saying to Rick, who was my foreman, I'm out. Do you want the company? I'm out, mate. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to finish this job. I'm not getting any more. And if you want it, you can have it. And I walked away from it. Yeah, so that's how I did that first one. But then what I'd realised, that took away all of the stress, all of the pressure on me. And then I slowly transitioned out of the other businesses. So what I'd do then is I'd go around to the business. I'd just spend like half a day there. My days got easier. And that's how I kind of transitioned out of it, slowly but surely.
But replacing yourself.
Yeah, but
Replacing myself.
Yeah.
I'd already replaced myself. It was only the building company that
but
I was replacing.
that takes some bollocks, right?
Yeah.
That right? To
Yeah,
walk in there and do what you did. What advice would you give to someone who isn't financially stable here?
Yeah.
Like, because that's a bold move. But what you've known and done is you've got 3 other businesses here.
Yeah, I was just
So
going.
so you've got the income.
Yeah,
But if you're in that rut,
yeah.
how do people get out of that without the financial security?
You've got to understand really what's important to you. What I like to do is I just try to keep it really simple with anybody that I'm dealing with. And go, look, we've all got 3 pots: health, wealth, and connections. And within each one of these pots, there's smaller plants and multiple ones. So in your health, it could be looking at your nutrition, it could be your exercise, your light, your sleep, your so on and so forth. Your connections can be your friends, family, colleagues at work. And your wealth can be your business, your investments, your this, that, the other. So we do need all 3 of them. And it's a nice, easy way to look at it. What most people do is they periodically water one of them until it's really full and then hope to go on to the next one. But the downside is they crumble the other 2 if they're not being watered. So it's a case of, look, what you've got to do is analyse what you really, really want, take out the shit that's causing you as the problems, and make sure that you're constantly watering all of the pots. Because what you'll find then is it's okay having a shitty job as long as you can go home to a nice wife and you're healthy.
Yeah. It's so true.
And if you've got the other 2 to fall back on, and then what you need to do is start to look, okay, if my job is that toxic, do I need to change my job? Do I need to change my position? Do I need to change the company within the same job? What do I need to do? And only you'll be able to figure that out. But ultimately, if you've got the other 2 supporting you, you're only ever going to bounce back up again. But if you find that the one that you're working on empties and you've not watered the other 2, you're going back to fuck all, and then you're going to be a very...
It's actually really simple.
It's dead simple.
Yeah,
Isn't it? When you actually talk about it.
I've had the chat with you a few times.
Yeah.
And it's like, fucking hell, he's right. But it's implementing that.
Of course
It
it
is.
is.
It's
And
like,
this is where it's a
cool.
daily
I know,
routine.
I know where my importance is.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's so hard to take yourself away.
Well, we think what's important is the thing that's screaming and shouting to us the most, when actually consistency is the most
But who do you go
important
to
thing.
in a first aid
So,
scenario? You
yeah.
go to the silence.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've just got to consistently put in. So even though like health and social probably come secondary for most people for money. Like money is the fear. We've got to get the money and we leave it. But if you just put a little bit into those 2 every single day, make that phone call to maybe your mum, your friend, whoever it is. And on the health, maybe you choose to opt for water over Diet Coke one day. You do this, and you can say, do you know what? Every day I'm just ticking up a little bit. And if you're filling it up a little bit every day,
Marginal gains.
consistency,
haven't
marginal
got one of
gains
them,
compound.
If you haven't got one of them, the others suffer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the point. So let's move on, because I think we've got 15 minutes left. Talk to us about the phone call with Rich. Started the conversation.
Yeah.
Initially. So what's the idea? What's the dream? And what are we looking to do?
Yeah. So the idea was there wasn't an idea.
No, there
actually,
wasn't really.
there was zero idea.
Yeah. We sort of came together and
It
sort
stemmed
of
from your. I'm coaching these guys,
Yeah.
and I think we need to start getting to these guys earlier.
Correct.
And there is a group of young men
Yeah.
between a certain age group who I'm speaking.
I think we
for
could
you.
make impact on the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sort of the concept of it was
Man
what
up.
we see as men aren't emotionally
Boys to men.
intelligent enough to be men.
Potentially, yeah.
And
There's lots of attributes to. We wanted actually to redefine man up.
Yeah. What being a
And
man.
give it our own meaning, which
Yeah.
was more along the lines of what I described before.
Yeah,
Caring, protecting,
yeah,
nurturing. The guy, basically, you want someone loving and caring and strong that you can look and go, okay, this guy's got my back and he cares for me.
yeah,
That's a man.
yeah. And he's been through this, so he can give me the advice that
Yes.
I need to be better.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it was a case of there was lots of fundamentals that I believed weren't being hit, weren't being taught in schools. And in an ideal world, and we speak about this outside of it, God, I'd love to change the education system.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's desperately done. And I've given myself a target of like till I'm 50 to actually do this. So I'm on a mission to get this done. And you guys know I'm not playing games when I say that.
What's really interesting is most of the podcast episodes we do, education comes up and education being wrong and it needing to
It's
change.
well,
huge,
I mean,
including the last one. And
we had a conversation this morning, and I sat there and thought about you, and I was like, "There's many people who want to do it.
Yeah.
let's have the bollocks and do it.
Yeah.
Let's just all club in.
Get people in the
Get
room.
in contact. So if you're listening to this, when you listen to this, get in contact with us. We want a group of strong individuals that we can combine, come in together, and let's just get this sorted. Let's not wait for somebody to do it. Let's just fucking do it. Man.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the concept, because I love the concept.
Yep.
The 3 pillars.
Yep.
And sort of an explanation on each pillar.
Wow. Okay. So again, this was kind of made up as we went along, and it was an evolution, really. It started off with who could we help the most? Where could we make the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time? Because we were trying to run this as a pilot that we could push out and then say, look, we've done this. We've not gone for the easy stuff. We've gone for the tough stuff, and we've managed to get this done. So we looked at potentially looking at young men between the ages of 15, 16 and 21. So basically school leaving age up until 21. I think there's a huge gap there, because they've kind of left one security aspect really with it being school. And the guys that we'll be talking to will not have taken that next step into college and university, where they've got some peers that can look after them. Yeah. And it was to give them a place where we say, look, okay, you might have had a bit of a rough time to date, but let's try and help you. And what I wanted to do was bring together over a 12-week plan some of the best coaches in the UK, because my thing's all about crowd splitting things. So I've thought to myself, like the broker mind in me, I just need one really good guy, and then I'll split in between 20, 30, 40, 50 people. And these guys haven't got access to people with this knowledge. So I'm talking the best the best business coaches in the UK, the best nutritionists in the UK, exercise coaches. And the platform ran over 3 sections. The first one was called You, and it was about understanding who you are as a person from not just an emotional level, but from a biological level. What's possible out of this body? You've got all this stuff. What can it do? Well, let me teach you and show you what you can do, because I believe a lot of people are held back by ill-educated parents and peers and mentors currently. A big believer in people who know better do better, and the only reason they're not doing it is they just don't know. You just don't know. So the first aspect was about you, and that was 4 weeks or a third of the course. The second was about dream, because I know for a fact if you don't have a destination to go to, you'll fumble along the river of life, bouncing into everything and calling it fate. And that's not really the case. What you really need if you're going downriver is a direction to go to and an engine to push you there. So I want to give that. And that fuel and direction comes from knowing where you want to go and working out a plan to get there over a period of time. So we want to give these young men a vision of, look, what's achievable by the time you're 30. Let's give you a 10 to 15 year plan here that you can work on. We're not going to overload you, and we can start to make fundamental baby steps towards this. And what you'll find as you take your steps along this course is you'll find motivation, because motivation is only given after taking the first step. And you'll find happiness, because happiness is derived from you knowing that you're on the right path to the destination that you want. It don't come anywhere else.
No, of course it doesn't.
So it was about that. And then the next section was about you, dream, grow. Okay, we've taught you what you can do. We've figured out what you want to do. Let's fucking do it. And we'd spend the next 4 weeks pushing them down the direction to ensure that they were on the right path to start ticking these milestones off in the years to come, followed up by an ongoing mentor, which would be digital. So it'd be an intensive 12-week course. You come through, a bit like a boot camp type thing. We'd introduce tough stuff in there, because I believe tough stuff is needed. Things like cold baths. The nutrition would be cookery classes. And anyway, I'm not going to go too much. Going to do anybody else copying this idea. It's awesome.
I think
it's happening.
Yeah.
What does success look like?
What does success look
So
like?
a young person's been through this. What do you think what's the outcome?
Well, let's
Happiness, direction, and self-esteem.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've contacted local authority, who want to pilot this, and we're actually aiming at the sort of the youth offending, the prevention of getting further exploited or into the like the real vulnerable young people that are turning to crime.
Yes.
So we've got buy-in from there, and I think I love it.
Well, we'd love a judge to be sat there saying you're either going to Feltham or you're going on the mountain.
So one of my biggest things is we took a young man out of Feltham, and I couldn't get over. You know, we've spoke about it many times, but I took a young man out of Feltham into one of our homes, and I couldn't get over how shit the not standard that and it does exactly what it's meant to. By the way, but I couldn't get over that there was young people living there. So our dream, our aim is to have a retreat, an area that instead of going to young offenders, they come to us for a period of time, and we work on those 3 concepts, and we stop them going re-offending. We give them the tools to be successful.
It's like an intervention. We're going to stop you and turn you round.
But it's not just stopping. It's not only that. Because I think there'll probably be other people out there that are trying to stop them from going there. It's not just stopping; it's taking them on a different journey, and a journey that leaves them infinitely better than they ever.
Sorry, I meant stop re-offending.
Stop re-offending. Stop them going back into prison.
Stop re-offending. I didn't mean stop. Like I meant that cycle. And one of the biggest things you said to me right at the start when we met was what we actually want is this group of people that go through the Man Up project to go full circle. And come back round and mentor the others in that.
That's the dream.
That's the dream. To have it so like just a rolling cycle. So you find the first one that come through. At the end of it, ideally, we want to try and place them in jobs or give them real good career paths. And obviously, all that good stuff happens currently. But we could put them straight back into the beginning. And what a better case or better mentor than someone who's been through the program. And can maybe show them what's going to happen, what's working, and help them out. And hopefully, after that means that's brilliant. It means in the next 5 years, guys, maybe we don't have to do it on the boots on the ground all of the time. But it'd be lovely, and I think really rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get going with it.
Yeah, I think we work on a lot of stuff. We're passionate about this sector, but this is the one that's, I don't know, there's just something in it that's really got us.
It resonates.
It massively does.
It resonates with a lot of young people that we work with. And it's given them tools. And listen, thanks so much for coming on. We've loved.
People are going to love this one. You're an inspiration, mate. It's why you're sat here. We absolutely love spending time with you. And
likewise.
We're very excited about working together on this because I think with the combined brains in the room, I think it's going to be special.
We're going to smash it.
Yeah, well, top man. Thanks so much to Dave for coming on. Thanks so much to the studio for having us. It's been lovely to get away and be up here. We've got a nice long drive home later.
As you didn't ruin this episode, well done,
mate. I didn't ruin this episode like you've ruined all the others. It's one thing we've got next time we come up here, we can't let Josh pick where we're eating.
Oh yeah,
that caused a big bit of fuss in the car.
Josh.
He deep dived straight in, didn't he?
He went
exotic things.
He went straight to fine dining, and Brian wasn't too happy about that, was he? He likes a turkey dinosaur, our Brian.
But I love a turkey dinosaur. But that came at a time where Rich was crying about not having hairspray. If you can see his hair, some of the bits are sticking up.
I knew we wouldn't get 2 episodes done without you mentioning that. And I was thinking to myself, there's a little timer in front of us, and I saw it I think it's about 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And I thought, he's not going to mention it.
No.
I had a little bet with myself.
I did mention it.
Well done, mate. Well done, putting people down.
No,
anyway,
no problem.
Thanks,
Dave. Thanks for coming in.
More than welcome, guys.
Total edge.
See you soon.